Hey everyone, welcome back to this channel, or if it's your first time here, welcome to this channel. Thanks for watching. I'm David Townsend. This is the Net Academy, where we are learning networks together, and on this video what I am going to be going through is the very basics of the Juniper Junos operating system, the command line interface, and how this actually compares in a small way to the Cisco IOS world. And the reason why I'm doing this is because in a former life I never worked at Cisco, but I did come from a Cisco background, like a lot of us. So I did have, they've all expired now, some CCNAs and CCNPs, etc. And when I came to Juniper to use the Junos operating system, the CLI, I found it incredibly different. And it is because it is absolutely different to that Cisco IOS. Juniper Junos is very powerful, very flexible, and there's a lot of commands here that will actually save you a lot of time. Trust me on this one. If you're ever playing in a lab, this is glorious command. That is the rollback command. And that's just one example of how Juniper Junos is different. So in a very small lab, what I'm going to do is show you, talk through how you can navigate around the Juniper Junos CLI. What commands do you need to know? How do you commit to configuration? How do you roll back a configuration? What is the hierarchy of the Juniper Junos? And in a small way, how does this actually compare to the Cisco IOS world? So let's get going. And here is the lab that I'm going to be using for this video. As you can see, there's nothing really here. There's no network, but we don't need there to be a network because all we're doing here is introducing the Juniper Junos CLI, the command line interface. But what you can see is here is, of course, we've got a VEX or virtual EX switch. So this is actually a new software at the time of me doing this video that you can actually download from the Juniper webpage, the knowledge base to be specific. So if you want to play about with a virtual switch, you know, it's very easy to do so. And we've also then got our Cisco IOS, our V switch as well. And that's where I'm going to be starting, because what I want to do is do a few really basic configurations on that Cisco virtual switch, such as configure VLAN and assign that interface, that VLAN onto a specific interface, and then use it as a comparison onto or for the Juniper Junos. So how can we do the same on that Juniper Junos? How do we navigate around? How do we commit that configuration? How do we roll back that configuration as well? So let's actually bring up the Cisco IOS. And here we go. Here's the IOS itself. And from my memory, there's quite a few different operational modes or layers within the Cisco IOS, just like there is in Juniper Junos with any vendor. But in the Cisco IOS, a little bit different. In the Cisco IOS world, there's the user exec mode. Then we've got the privileged mode, and then the global configuration mode, if I remember them correctly. So right now we are in the IOS, in the Cisco, we're in that user exec mode. So if I just hit enable, just tab it out, obviously we know it will automatically populate the rest of the entry for you. And I want to configure a VLAN, so all I do is do configure terminal, or conft for short, and I just want to configure a VLAN. I'm just going to give it a VLAN ID of 100. And now I go into another layer of configuration where I can then give a name, and I'm just going to call this Net Academy. I'm not going to call it Juniper, I don't want to be too cheeky. And that's actually allowed us to very quickly there to configure that VLAN. And there's just a little pop-up there, don't know what that's about, but let's keep going. So what I want to do now is actually put that VLAN onto a specific interface. So if I do exit, and now if I do int, and hopefully I get the port right to begin with, int gigi000, yeah, so I've gone into the interface itself, and I want to give this a configuration to allow an access VLAN, but with that VLAN ID, that VLAN tag of 100 that I just built. And the configuration on IOS is very easy. All we do is say switch port mode access, hit enter, and now I just want to say switch port access VLAN 100. Now every single time I've done this, I've been hitting enter, of course, so to get into that new line. Now what that means in the IOS world is that as soon as you hit enter, that return key, that return button, whatever you've just configured, that's automatically put into that running configuration. So if I do a run show VLANs, or do show VLANs, we can actually see here's that the VLAN I've just configured here, and I can actually see I've already had that configured onto that interface of jnci-ent basically. So that's just quickly how to configure a VLAN on the Cisco IOS. But how does this actually compare to the Juniper Junos, which is obviously where we're going to be spending the bulk of this video? Now, before I actually go into the Junos CLI and show you how to navigate around, here is one command that you absolutely need to know, and that is called the edit command. Now, it sounds strange, but with Junos, you have to use the edit to move around the different hierarchies, the different branches of the Junos CLI. As we just saw in the Cisco IOS world, there's no edit command because these are different CLIs completely. And when I wanted to configure that VLAN, I initially just done enable configure T VLAN 100, etc. I didn't have to push edit at all. And now, whilst this sounds like it actually can be a bit more cumbersome, it's actually a lot more beneficial and a lot quicker way to navigate around Junos using this edit command. Now, as I just said, there's different hierarchies, there's different branches of a tree within the Junos CLI, and you navigate to these different branches using this edit command. So just to begin with, there is edit protocols, or I'll just do prot for short, but that's edit protocol. So when you're in the configure command, so I should say this is in the configuration mode, you use edit to move around, to edit a specific branch of the tree. Now when you go into edit protocols, there's lots of branches within the protocol tree, such as there is RIP, there is OSPF, there is EVPN, and so much more. And obviously each of these protocols could and probably will have these sub branch trees which are hanging off them. So in OSPF you can actually go into different areas. So that edit command is very powerful because what it allows you to do is navigate from the very top of the configuration mode all the way down to a specific protocol, whether it be RIP, OSPF or EVPN, and down to a specific area. There's other branches as well, of course, such as the chassis, system, interfaces, and a lot more. You'll see this on the Junos CLI in just a minute. And if we go look at interfaces, we've got Gigi, we've got XE for 10 gig, we've got our management, I'm just going to do man for short, I'm running out of space, or FXP0, and within these we can go into different units as well, or in the Cisco IOS world they would call them sub interfaces. So that edit command could allow you to go from, say, if you're in configuration mode and you're inside protocols OSPF area 1, using edit we can very quickly navigate from here all the way over to here using that edit command. So edit allows you to move about. But say for example you didn't want to move from here within area 1 or area 100, whatever it may be, to the top of this particular branch, which would be protocols, edit protocols here. What you can do in such a case is you can actually use a command called up. So what up does is it allows you to move up the branch, and if you wanted to move up 2 levels of that branch, guess what, you can say up 2, and then it would go to the very top of that branch in this particular example. Or if you wanted to go, regardless of what level of that sub branch, that sub architecture you're actually in, if you wanted to go all the way back to the top, which is right here, you could actually say top, and the Junos CLI will allow you to navigate from whatever branch you're in, whatever area you are in within the Junos CLI, to the top of that configuration mode. So edit is absolutely a very powerful and necessary command to know when you want to navigate around the Junos CLI. And here's the command line interface for this VEX switch. So when you first log on, you're just going to be in the Linux, the initial Linux base. So I'm just going to go into CLI mode. Now, unlike Cisco IOS, where there's actually 5 different modes of operation, so the user exec, the privilege exec, and the global configuration mode, in the Juniper Junos there are 2. The first one is the operational mode. This is where we are right now, indicated by that pointing right or left, whichever way you look at it, that arrow pointed to the right as I see it. And what this allows you to do is run various show commands. So I could do show VLANs brief. We haven't configured anything yet, and it will allow me to have that same look and feel as that show VLAN brief that we had on that Cisco IOS, on that Cisco device. But obviously we haven't configured anything yet. So how do I go from an operational mode where I can monitor statistics, monitor interfaces, run show commands, basically do everything at an operational level? How can I move from there into a configuration mode? Well, to do that, all you do is enter in configure, and now I am in configuration mode as indicated by this asterisk. I'm just going to zoom in. There we go, that's a little bit better. Indicated by this asterisk here. So now you can see a little bit more clearly that asterisk just there. So I am in the global configuration mode, or just configuration mode as we call it in Juniper Junos. Now let's look at that edit command. So if I push edit and question mark, you can see all the branches of this tree that you can go down. So let's use that protocols OSPF. So I could do edit protocols OSPF and hit enter. And now you can see, if I just scroll back up, here I was right at the top. It just says edit. This is the top of the tree. But now I said I want to move, I edit specific protocols OSPF, and I have moved from the top all the way down into that OSPF branch of the protocols tree. But if I do show, there's actually nothing configured here. So how can I go to the top again? Back to edit, the top of the configuration mode. Well, if I hit top, I'm now back to the top. How can I go into interfaces? I could just do edit interfaces gigi. There's not one actually configured, so I'm just going to do 000.0, or that's the unit 0 or sub interface 0, and I can immediately see that I have moved from the top into the interface gigi 000 unit 0. Now moving back to those up commands, I could just push up and I've moved from unit 0 just up to gigi 000, or I could do up 2 and I'm back to the top again. So that is a very quick and easy way to actually navigate around the Juniper Junos command line interfaces. And that's actually the same whether it be an MX, router, a QFX switch for the data centers, an EX switch for enterprise networks, etc. Juniper like to keep a common and consistent command line interface across the different products. Obviously it will change from device to device, of course, for obvious reasons, but the look and feel, the consistency is absolutely still there. So how can we actually configure a VLAN on the Juniper Junos? And it's very quick and easy to do so. And the command you need to know, in addition to the edit command, is the set command. This allows you to set a configuration in the candidate configuration. Another differentiator between Junos and IOS is when, as I said, when I was on the Cisco IOS, as soon as you hit enter, that return key, that command, whatever it may be, is automatically pushed into that running configuration. Now, if that's a good, valid command, that's great. If it's a bad, invalid command, that's not so great. And there's a reason why we do this in the Juniper Junos world. So this set command allows you to set a configuration, but it will not be committed just yet because we have a running configuration, a running database, and we have a candidate configuration, a candidate database. So all the commands you enter using this set command will sit within the candidate configuration, and only when we do a commit command will that configuration go from the candidate into that running configuration. And there is a reason behind that, but first let's actually set a VLAN. So I could do set VLANs and I could give the name of Net Academy, and if I hit question mark I can then get all the different options of further CLI commands, but here I want to give a particular VLAN ID of 100. And that's it. Very quickly from the top there, I have entered in, I want a VLAN called Net Academy with VLAN tag 100. So if I actually just do show VLANs, you can see that's automatically been entered there. You could also have done edit VLANs and move into that VLAN branch of that tree, and you can then do here set. Let's just give a second name. Let's just call it the Net Academy, just to be a bit different, and give it a VLAN ID of 200. And now if I do show here, you can actually see I've got that original command here of Net Academy VLAN 100, and then the Net Academy with a VLAN ID of 200. So if you know the hierarchy of Junos, obviously on Juniper devices, you can very quickly do that from the very top of that configuration tree. How then do you assign that VLAN to a specific interface? So let's just say I want to assign it to the jncis-ent interface. So if I actually do edit, I want to move into interfaces jncis-ent.0, and if I do a quick show, you can see there's nothing configured here. Now again, I need to do that set command. So I want to set this interface to be an access interface, but with that VLAN tag of 100, i.e. Net Academy. So here what I need to do is say set family Ethernet switching, i.e. this is a layer 2 interface. And further I need to say interface mode access, and what members do I want this to be assigned to, i.e. what tag. So if I do VLAN members 100, if I hit show again, and you can see that configuration is there. That's it. So without sounding competitive, on the iOS that was 2 different lines of command. On Junos it is 1 command itself. Now if I actually do, let's go to the top just to clean it up and do a run show VLANs. That is the equivalent of doing or stating the do command in iOS. So when you're in a configuration mode, whether it be iOS or Junos, you have to run a certain command, a text, to view that configuration, view the operations, monitor those operations. In the iOS that is do, I do show VLAN brief. In Junos it is run show VLAN brief. So slightly different, but really the same thing. Now you can actually see here that even though I have configured 2 separate tags, tags 100 and 200, they're not appearing here. Why is that? And that is because we need to commit this configuration. So when you have built a configuration on Junos, as I said, it is not automatically put into that running configuration when you hit enter, when you hit that return key. It's a safety mechanism, because what happens if you suddenly turn, we're all human, we make mistakes. What happens if you turn off the wrong interface, just for example, or you disable the management interface, and the management connectivity to that switch, to that router, is just gone? That's obviously not an ideal scenario. So with the commit, we commit that candidate configuration into that running configuration. So commit is another command that absolutely you need to know about if you are new to the Juniper Junos. But there's a lot more to just commit. So if I hit question, what you can do is we could do commit and quit. When it's committed this configuration, we're going to move from the configuration mode back to the operation mode. Or I can do commit comment. I can enter in a comment of VLAN tags, just for example, and this is important if I want to roll back, so I can identify a specific load, a specific configuration. Or I can do it at a specific time using the at command as well. So I'm just going to enter it in here. You can see there's a lot you can actually do, but what I do want to do first, actually before I do that, is just do a commit check. What this does is Junos is going to check the configuration, make sure that syntax wise, configuration wise, it makes sense, and that there's nothing overlapping. It's doing a sanity check on your configuration. I don't know of the equivalent of this in the Cisco IOS world, and this will save you a lot of time when you start getting into the more advanced topics and a lot more of the advanced configurations. It's doing that sanity check for you. What you can also do is commit confirmed. If I hit question, you can actually see we can give a specific timeout. What this does is, if I was to hit in 5, just for example, what this means is it's going to commit that configuration, But if I haven't confirmed that configuration using commit confirm in a specific time, i.e. 5 minutes, then Junos will automatically roll back because that configuration was bad. It's cut off the management connectivity. It's done something that has blocked the access to that device. In this case, is VEX switch. So if you don't confirm it within a specific time period, i.e. 5 minutes, Junos will see that, it will know that, and it will roll back. So if I do commit confirmed 5 minutes being the interval, if I don't confirm that in 5, it will roll back automatically. But right now I'm just going to do a commit comment VLAN tags, is spell it right, hit enter, and you just do VLANs. It's probably had to have an underscore there, but that's fine. And you can see that has now committed. So now if I do the run show VLANs brief, we can now see that VLAN is now populated in that VLAN database. I can see it's just using the default routing instance. That's a bit more of an advanced topic, but I can see here's the name, here's the tag, and it is assigned to the jncia-ent interface. That is absolutely the same as that do show VLAN brief on the Cisco iOS devices. But what other commands do you actually need to know about or will help you on the Juniper Junos devices? Well, let's do something first. So right at the top, I'm just going to do, actually I'll do the edit protocols OSPF. So I've moved into the OSPF protocol, and I want to set area 1 with interface gigi 000.0, and if I just do up show, and I can actually see here's the OSPF protocol I've just created. Now I could do a commit check, and that was just going to do that sanity check on the configuration, make sure there's nothing overlapping and make sure it makes sense. But here's another command which is really great, and that is show pipe compare. What this does, this is great, is it actually allows you to see what are you adding into, hence the pluses, what are you adding into that running configuration if you were to commit it. So I've committed that configuration into that running configuration. So now we've got an interface with a specific VLAN tag, tag 100, and I've got OSPF running out of that interface itself. Obviously it's not going to work in this network, but say for example you entered in the wrong interface or you entered in the wrong command. How could you quickly, without doing delete interfaces and delete firewall options and delete routing instances, not that you'd want to do that, how could you actually speed this up a little bit quicker? Well, there is this rollback command. This is absolutely great. It saved me a lot of time in my virtual labs, and what you do is you hit rollback ? And you can see all the previous configurations that have been saved on the Junos CLI. Now it does support up to 50. The VEX is still pretty new, so that's why you don't see them all here, and plus there's not that many configurations that have been saved. So we will see if you do those many commits, up to 49, 0 to 49, that's 50 previous configurations, committed configurations, and it's a first in first out kind of perspective kind of operation. So what I can actually do is roll back 1. So I'm going to roll back to when there was no OSPF configuration. If I hit enter here, you can actually see it has committed it, it has loaded it. And if you're wondering what the actual running configuration was, it was 0. So just before I'd done rollback 1, we were at 0 here. So that was with the VLAN tags, that was with the OSPF protocol area 1. So that is 0 is always your current running configuration. But I rolled back to 1. I rolled back to 1, and now 1 is that running configuration. So rollback will allow you to roll back in time, roll back in configuration. And if I quickly do a show protocols OSPF, you can actually see OSPF does not exist because I rolled back the configuration before I actually enabled and created the OSPF protocol. So let's just quit out of the configuration mode. Now what's another very helpful command for you to know on the Junos operating system, on the CLI? Well, in the Cisco iOS we have show IP-ent brief, or show IP-ent B if you want to make it a bit quicker. The equivalent to that in the Juniper Junos world is show interfaces terse. Show interfaces terse. And this is going to give you a big output. So this is all interfaces basically, and it's exactly the same, just show int terse, show IP int brief. It's obviously a different format, but here it would give you all the interfaces, whether they're up, whether they're down, the IP addressing or INET, Internet Protocol, INET or INET 6, which is IPv6, or ISIS if we were doing ISIS routing, and a lot more. So that's an additional command that you can use on the Junos operating system. And so that's the end of this video, everyone. I hope you found that useful. It is a short video on how to get up to speed, how to really run initially with the Junos CLI, the command line interface. Obviously this is introductory, this is very, very basic, but coming from experience, when I came to the Junos world, I didn't know the set command, I didn't know the edit command, and they're absolutely important. And those are actually the three commands that I want you to take away from this. One is the edit command, the ability to move from specific branches, as I like to think of them, of that Junos architecture, from the specific protocols, from the specific interface, from the chassis. I want to edit or move from these different branches. So edit is a very fast and efficient way of moving around Junos. And then we've got the set command. iOS don't have this. As soon as you enter in the return key, it's just automatically populated into the running configuration. With Junos we don't have that, and that's the next command, but we have to enter in the set command. I want to set a specific configuration. And coming back to what I just said, we have this additional commit command. I want to commit a configuration from that candidate tree into that running configuration. So the candidate database into that running database itself. And then we've got commit check, such as I want to check the configuration, or commit confirmed, I want it to roll back if I don't confirm in a specific amount of time, or commit at a specific interval. And other commands such as show pipe compare, see what you're adding in, see what you're removing as well. So as you can see, that is a introductory into how to operate with a Juniper Junos operating system. And a little FYI, on the Juniper Learning website there is a free, yes you heard me right, there is a free course which is very detailed and very extensive actually, a free course if you are moving away from Cisco IOS into Juniper Junos. I highly recommend it, it's a great watch. But thanks for watching, I hope you found that informative. Please give me a like, please enter in your comments, I love hearing from you guys, and look forward to the next video. Thanks for watching and goodbye.